Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. We're going a couple minutes early, and I want to thank you all for joining me. We'll give it a few minutes, but today we're going to do day 4 of 4, right? Summer-based training for cross-country, high school seniors, okay, going into your high school senior year. Yesterday we did juniors, the day before that, sophomores, the day before that, freshmen. Tomorrow we're going to start the college series, okay? Incoming freshmen, then sophomores, and juniors and seniors the next 4 days after that. So come and join me. And again, particularly, there is a transition that takes place after you finish your senior year of high school, as you start to go into your freshman year of college. That I'm not exactly sure. A lot of coaches talk about this with athletes, and athletes talk about this with each other. But it's definitely important to go over. So I'll be going over that tomorrow as well. And which with this the type of stuff that really I encourage athletes to keep in mind and pay attention to. Okay, but today we're going to do, again, summer-based training. And I hope you've been watching the progression kind of in volume with each year of school, right? And again, you notice the consistency in the patterns too. Weeks 1 through 4, you're building mileage. Weeks 5 through 8, you add speed development. Weeks 9 through 12, you add a tempo or threshold or VO2 max component to the speed development. So each 4-week block adds a new element to the training. Each 4-week block is set up in such so that you have 3 to 4 weeks to adapt to the change in training. Okay, the body needs about 3 to 4 weeks to adapt, 21 to 28 days for periodization purposes. So that's why I set it up this way. Now, it'll be slightly different in college, and we'll go over that tomorrow in the next couple of days. So if you're a coach or an athlete, again, bring your questions always. But for some reason you're not subscribed to the channel, you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. It's always greatly appreciated. And I just don't want you to miss anything. And again, if you have questions here, bring them, put them in the comments. And we got a question already from Chosen Supreme. Hey, Andrew runner that always gets injured after doing 3 miles a day. You're a fast switch guy, and ever since you did the 800, I've always gotten injured when I increase mileage. What do I? Well, how? Let me ask you a question. How do you increase mileage? Because how you increase it is important. How you do it. And again, are you increasing mileage while doing workouts? Okay, increasing mileage and intensity at the same time, recipe for injury. It's a no-no. Okay, it should be one or the other. So, and that's from coaching for the last 2 decades. One of the things that I've learned sometimes the hard way, and it kind of forces you to evolve as a coach, right? And it's also something I learned at the USATF coaching school, something I learned from other physiologists and other coaches too. So that's the question I have for you right there, Chosen Supreme. Are you increasing volume and intensity at the same time? And if so, why? But in the meantime, I'll give you time to answer that. We'll just get right into it. Summer-based training for high school incoming senior, right? For cross country. And a couple of things to point out. Again, it's a good opportunity for cross-country and track athletes to set themselves up for a strong final year of competition, right? I always talk about this. Use the summer, especially if you race cross, indoor, and outdoor. You're essentially racing for 9 months in a row. So use the summer to recover and sequentially do the right things to set you up to do that again next year at a higher level, okay? So you don't need to do all kinds of workouts in June and July. There's no need for it. Especially if you haven't recovered, especially if you race late into the season, like folks that just ran nationals. And congratulations, one. But I would also encourage folks to push the start of the cross-country season back so that they're not skimping out on the summer-based training. They're not skimping out on recovery. So, again, gradual progression in training from year to year as athletes become more experienced, they also become more physically and emotionally mature. So, you become more capable of handling increasing workloads. And with communication, you get an understanding of why you're doing such a thing, okay, and when to do such a thing, which is why I chose them. That was a good question to ask. And that's why I have a question back for you. And with that's why I asked you the question. So, because it's important. It'll give both of us some perspective. And again, new opportunities for leadership and accountability there when athletes can adapt or adhere to, right? So that athletes can adapt and adhere to. I like to personally, as a coach, I like to give. You set the tone, right? You communicate with each other, the goals, the philosophy, and so on. But I like to give the athletes ownership of the season, ownership of what they're doing, so they can not only hold each other accountable, but hold themselves accountable too, right? You don't need to be an overseer or constantly babysitting them, especially if you can depend on them to get the work done. This is why it's sometimes good to appoint group leaders and training groups if you have that many athletes that you're working with. Let them own what they're doing, so that they can be held accountable or held each other accountable. So with that said, let's get right into this. Week 1 and 2. Okay, week 1, Monday 5 miles, Tuesday 6 miles, Wednesday 5 miles, Thursday 6 miles, Friday 5 miles, Saturday 6 miles. Just alternating. That's a total of 33 miles. Okay, Sunday's an off day. Okay, now as a senior, this is when I get right into the every other off day. I mean, every Sunday, every other Sunday being an off day here, right in the summer. I don't transition into it throughout the summer. You go right into it. Okay. Week 2, 6 miles a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can see here. Then Friday's 5 miles, Saturday 7 miles, Sunday's 4 miles. So it's 7 days. If you add it up, it's 24, 29, 36, 40 miles. 40 miles. Okay. And again, you can modify as you see fit for boys and girls, right? Sometimes, your girls will run a little bit lower volume. Sometimes they won't. But at the lower volumes too, it's a little bit easier to kind of have them run a similar format, a similar volume. Okay. Week 3, 6 miles Monday, 6 miles Tuesday, 7 on Wednesday, 6 on Thursday, 6 Friday, 9 Saturday. We're slowly building that long run. Okay. And you're off on Sunday. Week 4, 6 on Monday, 7 on Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 miles, Thursday, 7 miles, 6 miles Friday, 8 on Saturday, 5 on Sunday. And again, we're just doing mileage here in the first 4 weeks because we're increasing the mileage each week. That's the adaptation that needs to take place. Okay. And back to the questions here. You're just doing aerobic base building and increasing easy mileage. How are you doing it, Chosen Supreme? Can you give me an idea? And a couple questions for you too. Are you using the same pair of shoes every day? Are you running on softer surfaces? Do you do strength training, functional strength training? Can you break it down for me as best you can, Chosen Supreme? Even in a simple form in the comments, that's totally fine. I appreciate it. And the more I know, the better I can be helpful. Okay, so that again, weeks 1 through 4, you're just adding mileage, nothing else. Now, weeks 5 through 8, we're going to add speed development twice per week. Okay, to the mileage. That's the adaptation in this cycle here. So week 5, 6 on Monday, 7 on Tuesday, but you're adding 5 times 100 meter uphill at the end of the run after the 7 miles. Okay, and just walk down, jog down, nice and easy. 8 Wednesday. 7 miles Thursday, and then Friday 5 miles, and then you do 5 by 150 on the flat. Okay, so the flat running is generally 50 meters longer than the uphill running if they're doing it in the same week. Okay, so and again, walk back, jog back, whatever you need to do. Especially in the summer, the weather's probably still hot. So if you're doing this type of training, I encourage you to do it in the morning when the sun will have been down for half the day. So if you have the ability to get it done the first thing in the morning, please do that. It's for your own sake, for your athletes, for your teammates. That's definitely a great way to do it. 10 miles Saturday, off on Sunday, week 5. Week 6, 6 on Monday, 8 on Tuesday with 5 times 150 meter uphill. So we add 50 meters per week on the uphill and the flat running until a certain point, and then we add something else to it. Wednesday 8, Thursday 8 miles, Friday 6 miles, 5 by 200 meters on the flat. Walk, jog, equal afterward, whatever you see fit. 10 miles Saturday, 4 miles Sunday. Okay, and again, 10 miles standard long run as a senior in high school. You can get to the point where you do 10 miles. That's a good thing. Okay. Now, weeks 7 and 8. And again, any more questions, put them right in the comments. 6 miles Monday, 7 on Tuesday, 5 times 200 meter uphill now on Tuesday afterward. Always afterward. 8 on Wednesday, 8 on Thursday. 5 miles on Friday, 5 by 250 meters on the flat. And this you could progress from, let's just say 800, from mile pace down to 800 meter pace. This is a good form of speed development that helps you transition into the more the next phase of the training, which happens weeks 9 through 12. Okay. And then 11 miles on Sunday. That's the longest of the long runs here. Off day on Sunday, the long run Saturday here. Okay. Week 8, 6 on Monday, 8 on Tuesday, 5 by 250 uphill afterward, and 8 on Wednesday, 8 on Thursday, 6 on Friday, and 5 by 300 meters on the flats afterward. You can do the same walk, jog, recovery. Mile pace down the 800 meter pace. It acts as a good form of speed development for cross country and track. And 10 miles on Saturday, then 4 miles on Sunday. Okay. Now, last phase here. Okay. Now we're going to add some VO2 max component to the speed development. Okay. But we're going to reset the speed development too to kind of balance out the add of the VO2 max component. Okay. So you see here weeks 9 through 10. Week 9, 6 on Monday, 7 on Tuesday, 5 times 100 meter uphill now, going back down to 100. 8 on Wednesday, 8 on Thursday. Friday, you get warm up, you do your drills and strides. Let's just say it's a mile and a half, whatever it might be. Mile and a half, 2 miles. Drills and strides, 2 times 10-minute tempo. 2 minutes in between, then 5 minutes after the second one. And then 5 times 100 meter flat afterward. Okay. Working that turnover when you're already tired. That's exactly how it's going to feel in a race. Okay. And then you do a cool down. 11 miles Saturday, off day on Sunday. Before we get to week 10, got another question here. Strength training 2 times a week, good. You try to run 6 miles a day. You do the same shoes. Well, going from 3 to 6 can be a little bit aggressive. So I'd go from 3 to 4 also. Like get to 4 first, and then add a little bit to the long run, and maybe do 5 long run, and then 6 long run, and so on and so forth. Add it very incrementally. But going from 3 to 6 is essentially doubling the mileage. And this is where, it can be a little bit dangerous. I have a lot of folks saying, well, why can't I go from 35 to 80? Well, that's a pretty significant increase. The body needs, 35 to 45 or something like that. 3 a day to 4 a day. Make sure the body can handle the incremental increase before you do anything else. So from 3 to 6 that's doubling the volume. So I'm not surprised if it's a little achy and painy. So, but just a thought. It's just I'm just speaking from my personal experience. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to incorporate it or not. Now, week 10, 7 on Monday, 7 on Tuesday, and 5 times 150 meter uphill afterward. Then 8 on Wednesday, 7 Thursday, and then Friday, drills and strides. Warm up, obviously, do your drills and strides. And then 5 times 1K with the 1 minute recovery at threshold pace. And again, to simplify this, okay, whatever you ran in the outdoors for a mile, you set that as your training paces for your tempos, which is about 55 seconds to a minute slower per mile than what you ran in the mile. So if you ran 5:30, your tempo is going to be at 6:30 pace, right? 6:25, 6:30. If you're at 4:30, then your tempos are going to be 5:25 to 5:30. But again, it's not easy to go out and run 20, 25 minutes like that. This is why I've got it broken up into pieces first, and then you can work your way towards that. And the threshold reps have 1 minute recoveries in between, and they're about 8 to 10 seconds faster per mile than your tempo run. So if your tempo runs at 5:30 pace, your threshold reps are at 5:20 pace, and so on. So 5 times 1K with a 1 minute recovery at threshold, then 5 by 150 meter flat afterward. And you can even do 5 minutes after the last threshold rep if you want. Okay. And then your cool down, obviously. And 11 miles Saturday and 4 miles on Sunday. So now you've got some VO2 max added to the speed development. So now you're really going to get an idea of the type of fitness that you have. And we'll test it in week 12, as you can see here. Let me pull them up. Okay, week 11, 7 on Monday, 8 on Tuesday, 5 times 200 meter uphill afterward, 8 miles Wednesday, 7 miles Thursday. And now you're going to combine, if you can, the 2 by 10 minute piece and make it a 20-minute consecutive tempo run. If you can do the 2 mile, the 2 times 10 minute at your goal pace with a 2 minute recovery, then you'll have a better idea whether you can handle 20 minutes. Or maybe you need to do 15 minutes, take a minute or two, and then do 5 minutes. But the goal is 20 minutes, okay, consecutively. And that's after, obviously, a warm-up and drills and strides. And if you need to do a transitional piece, and I talk about this a lot too, let's just say your tempo run is at 5:30 pace per mile, right? You do 2 or 3 times a 200 in 40 to 41 before that. Helps you find the pace in these 200 so that you're not having to look for it in the workout, right? You're not wasting half the tempo on looking to try to find the pace, okay? Then you take a 5-minute recovery after the tempo, and then 5 times 200 on the flat. Then you cool down. 11 on Saturday, off day Sunday. Now we have 1 week to go, but I have another comment. First, tempo and threshold the same. No, they're not the same thing, but they serve the same purpose, okay? It's initial VO2 max conditioning. Okay, tempo and threshold. So, and you don't need to do them 3 times a week. And again, it really depends on how you do them. And you can see here, even in summer base training, I only do them once a week. Okay, it really depends on how you lay out the training. And this is where a lot of folks get in trouble. Like a lot of folks, I say they do 2 workouts a week and they race. Well, okay, but when are you recovering from racing and when are you recovering from the workouts, right? So tempo runs, again, it's about 55 seconds to a minute slower than what you run in the mile, okay? And then you're going to build that towards a 20 to 25 minutes consecutive run if you're a half mile and no more than 20 minutes. Over time, though. And then threshold is about 8 to 10 seconds per mile faster, but these are 1-minute recoveries. They're shorter reps, 800s, 1K reps. And unless you're doing long distance stuff, it doesn't really make sense to do many 1200s or mile repeats in that threshold pace. But the threshold pace for 800 is going to be the same pace as you did 1Ks. You're just going to spend more time in the threshold zone. Okay? But this is initial VO2 max. And then once you do this, you can transition into workouts at 3K pace or workouts at 5K pace with a 1-to-1 work recovery ratio. So if you're doing, let's just say 5 times 600 3K pace, if you're running them in 2 minutes, arbitrarily, you're going to run the, you're going to take 2-minute recovery. If you run 1K reps in 3 minutes, you can take a 3-minute recovery, and so on. So that's VO2 max specific. Okay. So week 12, Monday, 7 miles. Tuesday, 8 miles, 5 times 150 uphill. Okay, a little bit shorter. Wednesday, 7 miles. Thursday, 4 miles. Cutting back a little bit. Why? Because we're going to test them Friday, week 12. This is the week before everything starts. Test them at a mile. Do your warm-up, your drills and strides, and test your athletes at a mile. And if you put in a summer like this, you will have a very accurate gauge on how well and how fit they are that they can run in the mile. It'll more than likely make it easier for them to run it easily, or even run faster at the end, as opposed to going out too hard and then dying, which is usually a telltale sign that people have not run over the summer. Okay, so, and then obviously you take an 8-minute recovery after the mile time trial, 5 times 250 flat afterward. You can even go from 3K pace down to mile pace for those. And then after that, you take a jogging recovery, you do your cool down, 10 miles Saturday, 4 miles Sunday. So again, pretty straightforward, okay? But sequentially, there's a reason why I put stuff out this way, okay? Because especially in cross country, there's no reason to run your best races late September, early October, like 6 weeks too early. And that usually happens when people do either they race too much or do too many workouts in the summer too soon. You don't need to do that. You can get fit for cross country and just doing the basic stuff like this. You'd be shocked. And again, speed development is an all year round thing. And if you see in the summer here, I've got you doing speed development for 8 of the 12 weeks. And then you can continue that. You just modify it a little bit during the cross country season. Okay. So any other questions, folks, about this? Okay. Again, like I said, tomorrow we're going to do summer-based training for freshmen in college. It's different because they're training for different things. There's a couple things that are going to require adaptation that we're going to get into tomorrow. Specific details too. So, but Jones, thank you for the questions. Really. If anybody else in here has any questions, put them out here right now. Okay. I'm here to help. I'm here to help answer questions from coaches and athletes. Just because I've been coaching for 2 decades plus doesn't mean I know everything. I still learn from other coaches. I still learn from athletes, and I'm okay with that. I want to continue to learn. Okay. Any other questions, gang? Oh, and again, I thank you all for coming on, spending some time with me. It's always helpful to the algorithm here. It's always helpful to the channel. So I greatly appreciate it. But all right, good questions, folks. Appreciate you. Have a great day, everybody. And again, come and join me tomorrow. Summer base training. We start college. And then after that, I'm going to do summer base training for 400, 800 meter group for summer. And then I'm probably going to do a cross country training plan for also same years in high school, same years in college. I'm also going to do one for 400 and 800 because it's a little bit of a different fall preparation period than cross country, especially if they don't run cross country races. But even if they do run a couple because their coach needs them to for points or whatever, there's a way you can do that and still transition to track effectively. And I want to talk about that too. So thank you again for joining. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you next time.